It's your main man with the game plan, Corey Giovanni, and we're tapping in right now. We have business growth coach Desmond Blackburn.
Hey, brother, how you feel?
Man, I feel good, Desmond.
Hey, man.
How you feeling, brother?
I'm doing amazing, man. We're here, and matter of fact, and we're talking about my favorite subject, introverted perfectionists.
Hey,
I love it.
You know what? I like that.
Yeah.
Speaking of introverted perfectionists,
yeah.
Let's remove the introverted part.
Right.
Tell us about perfectionists.
Yeah, this is interesting because as a business growth coach and all stuff, for the last 5 years, I've worked with over 1,500 professionals, and a vast majority of my clients are all individuals who they describe themselves as recovering perfectionists.
Oh, wow.
All right. So first of all, there's a big misconception going on here. So people assume that if you're that being a perfectionist and being a person of excellence are the same thing. They're not.
Oh.
They're two separate things.
Okay.
All right. So, as a matter of fact, let's go ahead and deal with perfectionism a little differently and all stuff. So, a person of excellence. Who was a person of excellence? A person of excellence is a person who's able to do three things that are very hard for a perfectionist to go ahead and do. All right.
Okay.
Number one, they're able to take the win.
Okay.
Number two, they're able to move on, meaning they do not dwell on what did not work.
Okay.
And number three, they're able to go ahead and give themselves permission to be happy. Think of it like this. So the person of excellence goes to a local college and they want to go ahead and pass an exam. And naturally, they want to get the best score in the class.
Right.
So
they want to be up there.
They want to be up there, tip of the spear. That's their whole deal. So they work hard. They go take the test, fill out the test, give it back to the professor. They score it. Professor comes back and says, "Congratulations, Corey, you got a 93.
Okay.
Hold on a second. The perfectionists, they're having a heart attack. What?
Yeah.
93?
They study for 100.
Exactly. But must be some mistake. And the professor says, there's no mistake.
Wow.
The person of excellence is able to, 93. Well done. Great.
done.
We're going to Applebee's.
Right.
Okay. And also, but they're able to, again, remember what we said, that they're able to do the three things that are so hard for perfectionists. Take the win, move on, meaning we're not going to chase down the professor in the parking lot trying to figure out how I can get the 7 points.
Right.
And then last but not least, give themselves permission to be happy. Why am I talking about this? Because the problem with a lot of perfectionists right now that I work with is they don't know how to think any differently.
Oh, wow.
Okay. And also, so a perfectionist is that type of person who tells himself, only when I'm able to go ahead and basically ride horseback, matter of fact, while stringing the bow and arrow and hitting the target dead center, all while singing I'm Every Woman in perfect pitch, then and only then will I give myself permission to be happy.
Wow. That's amazing.
Perfectionists have a very stringent mindset.
Right. So perfectionists, if you miss one of the targets, to them, it's a fail.
It's not only to fail, but here's the part that it's causing so many perfectionists in this day and age, particularly the people I work with. Like, for example, a majority of my clients are mostly women between the ages of 45 to 59. They're professionals. They're fantastic. But here's what's happening. The perfection that used to serve them no longer is because they're no longer giving themselves permission to be happy.
You know what? And I see that in a lot of people. They don't give themselves permission to be happy because they feel like, to them, they feel, while everybody outside of them giving them the kudos, giving them the bravo.
Yeah.
But that is crazy. Now let's slide that first word in there. Yeah. Introvert. Well, I'm trying to think about how do an introvert and a perfectionist even go together.
Oftentimes they oftentimes are a pair coming in here. But I want to cover one issue before we get into the introversion. This is important. And also because the permission to be happy is huge, because think of it this way. And also a perfectionist basically tells himself that only when I hit every single lane, I checked every single box, then and only then will I give myself permission to be happy.
Wow.
The person who has now a new mindset, and this is what I do, we take them from becoming a perfectionist to now becoming a person of excellence. Why is that so important? Because the worst advice you can ever give a perfectionist is to be loosey-goosey, be okay with stuff. You can't tell perfectionists.
No, you can't.
You can't do that. And also, but a person of excellence allows them to have a place where they can go. Yeah. Because the person of excellence is able to dot I's, cross T's. Matter of fact, they care about how they show up. They're excellent. Right. We love that and all stuff. But it's more important for them to go ahead and understand that in this new season where they're in, they have to give themselves permission to be happy. Yeah. Because a person of excellence is able to, say it with me, praises progress and not perfection.
Ooh.
That's the big key.
Yeah,
in this new season, a person right now of excellence is a person who's able to give themselves do what? To praise progress and not perfection. Why is this so very, very important? What's the difference between the two? Well, they're basically the same people. The only difference is we change what you measure.
Wow. Measurement is key.
Yeah.
Because some may look at it like an 89 on a test.
Yeah.
That's a B.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Some may look at that as like, oh, no, no, you missed the mark. As in others, which are a different individual, that they'll be celebrated and congratulated for it.
Yeah.
And I totally can understand that because in my lifetime, to me, anything above a C was great.
Right.
And I, especially growing up, because of the fact that I would give the best effort.
Sure.
But when I didn't receive if I received a D, then I was like, oh, no, y'all messed. You didn't even look at it. You judging. But when I got a C, I would question it as well.
Sure.
But then the B, then I would question myself. Because of the fact that I was saying like, okay, I was able to get a high grade. Not the grade that I want. But let's go ahead and do some self-inventory.
Yeah.
And by doing that, then I realized like, okay, well, I should celebrate this.
Yeah.
Because if I don't celebrate it, then I'm just keep going on. And that's one thing I believe a lot of urban cultures don't do. They don't celebrate success.
No, they don't. And this is another issue that we're having right now. We're in a crisis where mental health is a huge issue.
Yes.
Going on here and also, and if you're a perfectionist, you are really downing. Matter of fact, I don't have to go ahead and doubt you. Trust me, you do a great job of doing that all by yourself. Going on here and also, and the reason why this is so important because as a business growth coach, my job is to go ahead and help people to increase their performance. But if you're constantly seeing yourself as always less than, you're damaging your performance all the time. And here's another thing that I've also noticed, and most perfectionists don't know they're even doing this because they're always, when people are trying to praise them, they're the first one to go ahead and basically, oh, well, I didn't like that. Well, I could have done so much better. And what they don't really start recognizing they're doing, they're actually training their environment to not praise them.
Oh, wow.
Because you're always being the first one to be the biggest hater in the room going on here. And because you're always hating on yourself, you begin to send a message to the matter of fact, to your community, to your family, to your friends, that praising you is hurting you.
Oh, that's deep.
And then what ends up happening is these are the same individuals who are complaining about their family and friends for not supporting them.
Right.
But they don't know that they've been inadvertently, because they're always the first one to talk about how it wasn't as great as it could be, how many people weren't here as they should, how many different things, even though it was a successful event, even though they did a great job, again, getting a 98 or whatever situation, they're the first one to go ahead and now poo-poo it.
Right.
You do that enough times and you begin to train your environment not to praise you. And now you're wondering, why doesn't everybody support me? Well, guess what? You've been training them not to do
crazy.
so. Yeah, this is huge. So this is the reason why it's so important when I'm working with perfectionists to now get them to come to a place where they're now comfortable with praising progress and not perfection, because now they can transition from being that perfectionist, which basically had very limited ways to achieve happiness, to now being a person of excellence who can still be the person who comfortably dots I's and crosses T's, but at the same time are giving themselves permission to be happy, because now what they're measuring is, did I move forward though?
It gives a different spin on it. It's better to give than receive.
Oh, absolutely.
And give yourself than receiving from others. Because a lot of people, if they want to give you something, you say, no, great, I'm fine. No,
Sure.
No.
Sure.
it is blessing to receive.
Yeah, yeah.
It's a blessing.
It is. It is.
Yeah.
It is. And right now, listen, sometimes you can't always depend on the environment. You can't depend on matter of fact, your kids, your spouses, even your coworkers. So you got to understand how to be good to yourself. But if you're a perfectionist or recovering perfectionist, this is a new thing. And if you don't know how to transition, because at first, let's just face it, your perfectionism used to serve you, but now we're 10, 15, 20 years down, matter of fact, down the pike, and what used to serve you no longer does. Right. And now what's happening is the fact that you're constantly judging yourself on a consistent basis. Now what ends up happening, it's very easy to see how people start dominoing into anxiety, into depression, because they're always believing the worst, not the best. And because they don't give themselves enough permission to be happy, all they can see very easily is what's not working instead of what is working on that. So again, this is what we're doing for a lot of my folks out there. And as a result of that, and also I'm seeing a lot of my clients come out a lot happier because I'm not asking you to change who you are. Listen, I love the fact that you dot I's and cross T's. Don't ever change on that. But what we're going to do is we're going to open up doors and give you strategies to where you can start giving yourself permission to be happy.
That sounds like some mental wealth tips, right?
110%, because I'm working with high-performing CEOs and makers and developers going on here, and people don't understand how important it is that we have to have the energy to go ahead and do the amazing things that we're doing. But if you are a person who's constantly doubting and hating on yourself, that takes energy. Yeah. And before you know it, you got all these ideas, but no execution because you don't have the energy to do it.
Yeah, and execution is key. It
absolutely,
is key.
Absolutely.
Because we can have all the ideas and all the wants and intentions in the world.
Yeah.
If you don't execute, it's not happening.
100%. And that's what most folks who are basically now saying, or matter of fact, that I'm working with as a business growth coach, these individuals are saying, hey, Des, I'm coming to you because I want to do more. Right. But I don't know why I'm not doing more. Yeah. So really understanding, are you a perfectionist? You have that mindset. Do you have a misunderstanding? Are you an introvert going on here and all stuff? And understanding, hold on a second, there's nothing wrong with you being an introvert. And also introverts are amazing. They're awesome. Going on here as well. They just think differently. They manage differently. They sell differently. Yeah. And when you understand how you work in matter of fact, specifically to that, you take off like a rocket.
Right. Okay. So you said it. I'm bringing it back, baby. Introverts. All right.
Yeah.
So
let's get into it.
Let's get into it because, introverts stick to themselves, right?
Yeah.
And I know that we talked before, but I want you to bring it back full force. The power of the introvert.
Amazing. Matter of fact, introverts are amazing, but unfortunately very misunderstood. First of all, the majority of people that I talk to all are saying, gosh, I'm not an introvert, man. I mean, that ain't me. Now, the reason why there's so much confusion is because we're measuring it different. We're measuring it incorrectly. Yeah. Most people assume that if you're an introvert, it means that you're quiet, shy, demure, to the back, don't like to talk to people. Right. And then if you're an extrovert, it means you talk to anybody, anytime, anywhere, jazz hands.
Right.
But that is the absolutely incorrect way to determine who makes an introvert and extrovert. Right. So there was a study done by a famous Swedish psychoanalyst by the name of Dr. Carl Jung on that, Jung, for those who want to look it up on Google. He did a seminal study of this in the early 20th century, and here's what he discovered. He discovered that being an introvert or an extrovert has nothing to do with who's quiet or who's not quiet or who's shy or who's not shy, but it has everything to do with how you process energy.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
And the phrase "energy never die, it transfer," but energy is what it is.
Yeah.
And you got to have energy to do pretty much everything.
Yeah.
But elaborate more about that.
Yeah. And also because we process energy differently. So, for example, an extrovert is kind of like that person who goes to a party, stays to the end of that party, and then shouts out, "Yo, where the after party at?"
Right.
Okay. All right. Why is that? Extroverts very simply draw from the energy from the people and things buzzing around them.
Gotcha.
Okay.
Yeah.
So again, the longer the party is going on, matter of fact, they are literally the personification of the more the merrier. Okay. So again, these guys get energized because of the activity and people going on around them. Okay. Right. Now, introverts are different. You see, introverts bring their bucket of energy everywhere they go.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I like that. Buckets of energy.
They do. And here's what people don't understand about introverts. Introverts immediately, when they're going to a party or event, trust me, they are either consciously or unconsciously have already budgeted the amount of energy they're going to be planning to spend for that event or situation. Okay. Right. So they're bringing that bucket of energy. So they're going to the party, and guess what? They're having a great time.
Yeah.
But the longer they're at the party, the more mentally, physically, and emotionally drained they begin to feel.
Pouring out of that bucket.
Exactly. Because the longer they stay at that event, matter of fact, that when that bucket of energy goes down, they go down.
Oh, yeah.
Now all of a sudden, matter of fact, uncle jiggling them keys. We got to go. We got to go.
I get it.
Yeah.
You know, it's funny. My mom went on during holidays when she would come over, she'd be like, I'm leaving at 4:30.
Exactly.
I'm like,
right.
Okay, mama, you haven't been here for a while, so you leaving at 4:30?
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, because I got this and I got that. Yeah. So introverts usually schedule out what they're going to do, what they're going to tolerate.
Yeah.
And so they're disciplined in what they're not going to do as well.
Yeah. And to think about it, for a lot of people, even those who are listening to this podcast right now, they're like saying, I didn't recognize I've been doing that all my life. Absolutely. And all stuff. So when people started to go ahead and recognize how they operate, they thrive. What's happening with so many people, particularly those in business, that I work with, and also they, like for example, in many cases when it comes to extroverts, we're celebrated. Extroverts, everybody the perception is that if you're the person who's always talkative, life at the party, talk to anybody, that's what you want to go ahead and be. But here's what a lot of people don't know: introverts actually outsell extroverts 2-to-1.
Wow.
Okay. They're very relational and all stuff. They're able to go ahead and pay attention more so to the wants of their people. And they're very, very, very much intuitive. And what a lot of people don't understand, according to an article in Forbes magazine, over 65% of a company's revenue comes from the sale and resale to existing customers.
Wow.
And
because introverts have a balance. Yeah. They know, like, look, if this is working and this isn't working, I'm going to focus on this. I'm not going to ignore this. I'm going to focus on this. So would an extrovert be the person that just throw all its energy into one thing?
Yeah, matter of fact, extroverts are amazing as well. I want to throw them under the bus here and all stuff. So for example, if you're blazing new trails that no one's ever done before, you want some extroverts on your team.
Okay, definitely.
Okay, extroverts have an innate, matter of fact, form of comfort level when it comes to no plan, no problem.
Right.
Okay. You see, matter of fact, for a lot of introverts, when they try to go ahead and get into sales, they're trying to go ahead and figure out, well, what do I do? Exactly what do I say? What is going on here? It's very, very difficult for them. So typically they'll come into a sales organization and do well that's already been established with the rules.
Right.
Going on here. Extroverts don't need rules. Yeah. Matter of fact, they're very comfortable with, I'll figure it out on the way. Going on here. So when I need to go ahead and get, matter of fact, a new idea or a new concept that's never been done before, you want some extroverts because they're not limited based upon whether there are rules or what have you as far as that's concerned. They're going to be able to go ahead and figure it out, and they're very, very comfortable in places and situations of instability. Yeah. And they come in very, very handy. I love me some extroverts. But sometimes if we don't understand who you are, you can find yourself getting tripped up.
So extroverts find the balance. Introverts know their balance.
Matter of fact, like I said, again, they find themselves very comfortable within rules. Let me give you 4 aspects of introverts I think you'll find this handy. Number 1, introverts have a high desire to always know what they're talking about at all times.
Got it.
If they don't know what they're talking about, they'd rather not talk at all.
Right.
Okay. Number 2, introverts, matter of fact, introverts, while they can wing it if you ask them to, introverts love them a good plan.
Yeah.
Step 1, step 2, step 3. Give me a process and procedure, and I'm a happy camper.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Number 3, introverts have a high desire to always feel authentic and real.
Okay.
If they even perceive that they're coming off as being fake, phony, disingenuous, and all stuff, if they even smell that, they get the heebie-jeebies, something real bad, and they want to run to the hills.
That's crazy.
Yeah. And also, And last but not least, introverts absolutely hate doing random.
Oh,
Okay. So listen, hey guys, here's a sales challenge for your organization. I want you to go to a local mall and I want you to talk to 10 people and tell them all about your product or service and go.
Yeah.
Now,
Yeah.
the extroverts will find a comfort level in doing that and saying, cool, all right, we'll just figure it out and we go along. And for them, that'll be fun.
Right.
But for the introvert, they're immediately having a mental breakdown on the inside.
Yeah.
Okay.
I can see that.
All right. Now, not knowing your sales style, and if you don't know that, oh my gosh, I'm thinking like an introvert as opposed to an extrovert, can get many people to go ahead and believe they can't sell.
Right.
I'm horrible at this. I'll never be that kind of person. When in fact, they just simply, once they understand their personality type, we're going to go ahead and connect that with what they do well. And now that their comfort level has now been increased because they're selling in a way that makes them feel authentic and real, that's not authentic, has a process and procedure, these folks will go ahead and basically will sell anybody under the table any day and twice on Sundays.
Wow, that's crazy. So, and you've been doing this for a long time, right? Mm-hmm. How long have you been doing it, and when did you start? What made you just say, you know what, I just need to make my imprint on the world with this?
Yeah, and also this actually came out, most of my great ideas come out of crisis. It's like this come out of crisis. And, I've been in sales for almost going on 35, almost 40 years now.
Oh, wow.
Going on here. And for many years, I was doing it wrong. It wasn't until I actually got with a coach many years ago that I started realizing, holy smoke, because I'm thinking I was an extrovert the entire time.
Me too.
Okay, and also I'm gregarious. I'm out there. I do stand-up comedy. I've done acting, et cetera. So I must be an extrovert.
Right.
But I could never understand why I was never comfortable with a lot of the sales tactics and strategies that people say I should be comfortable with.
Right.
And once I started to understand, no, I'm actually an introvert. And then was able to align my tactics with my personality. Now I went from basically doing push-ups on Jell-O in frustration, then now flowing.
Yeah.
And also, and see, one of the things I'm doing, and just kind of give everybody a little bit of a summary, and also what I'm doing with introverts is getting them to go ahead and understand that they have an ideal client type.
Yeah,
we give them a structure. We have, because the first thing I get people to do is stop trying to talk to everybody and their mama.
Yeah.
Everybody and your mama is not your customer.
Everybody is not your customer.
And
I am not your customer.
So remember, introverts hate doing random. So what we do is we're able to go ahead and break down. And this is what I discovered myself. When I first started my coaching business, I was doing what everybody was doing. Do you want coaching? Do you want coaching? Do you want coaching? I was talking to everybody and their mama. Okay. Yeah. And I was getting up, down results, but anything to write home about. And I actually was getting pretty frustrated.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until, matter of fact, and I was doing a lot of talking from the stage. And what I would do is I would invite people to the back of the room and ask them, hey, listen, if you enjoyed what you heard here, see me in the back and let's go and set up some coaching going on here. So I'm standing in the back behind my table. And I assumed that because I'm a dude, most of my clients were probably going to be a bunch of guys.
Right.
But I started noticing, moreover, the guys were passing by the table every single time.
Right.
But the people who were most attracted to my message, who I am, what I was doing, my tone, my presentation, were women.
Yeah.
But wait, it wasn't just any women. The people who were naturally not only will come and get coaching, but eventually become my customers, all had very specific characteristics. Number one, they were all women. Most of them were women of color.
Hey.
Okay. Between the ages of 45 to 59.
There you go.
Christian influenced.
Okay.
Bachelor or master's degree. A lot of master's degrees for some reason.
Right.
Okay. Introverted and recovering perfectionist. They were either in business or wanted to be in business.
Okay.
They were single, divorced, or widowed, even though we got a few married folk in there. And they all had a high sense of urgency, meaning there was some life event, divorce, job loss, something that was pushing them to make them do this thing like yesterday, that business idea, whatever. Yeah. And the last one was they all were the family's natural givers.
Oh, wow.
Okay. People came to them for everything, the community, the church, the family. They were always misdependable.
Yeah.
And they loved that, and they didn't have a problem with that. The problem is now, though, as they've gotten older, 10, 15, 20 years, now they're asking the question, you know what? I'm kind of done giving my best to others.
Yeah.
I want more permission to start doing for myself.
Right.
It's my time to shine.
Yeah. It's almost like it's every woman, right? Anything you want done, baby, I'll do it naturally. But now it's like, I'm every woman to me.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what your client is looking at.
Yeah.
And I get it because of the fact that when you serve so much and you give so much, because
draining.
Women in my family are strong and powerful, and I love it. You know what I'm saying? And they give a lot. True. And I always tell them, give some of that energy to yourself.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And I know you have in your background, you have entrepreneurial lineage as well.
Yeah, matter of fact, big shout out to my grandmother, Lolita Burnett, as well, as far as that's concerned. You know, she came out here basically a bank teller and was able to go ahead and for somehow, some way, was the most resourceful individual I've ever seen in my entire life. End up buying a home, a home in Diamond Bar, California in the 80s. In the 80s on that as well. Matter of fact, again, we're from Panama. So again, immigrant woman coming in as well. And also I've got a beautiful house on top of the hill. Nice. And while everybody else was saying, don't go to that community, they'll never accept you, et cetera, and all stuff. I mean, she was basically the mayor of that community, and about within a year or two, people loved her. Yeah. They loved her energy, and I just loved her can-do spirit going on here. But you're so right. What's happening is the fact that when you're constantly being all things to everybody, you get drained. Yeah. Okay, so this is the reason why I really haven't seen the benefit of this. And I started noticing that the people that I was attracting, I was attracting my type. Right. And it started happening over and over again to the point I started saying, hold on a second, I think I have a type. I have a type. Yeah. And that was and at that point in time, a star was born. Yeah. So what I've been teaching introverts, because introverts, listen, remember what I said earlier, and also introverts hate doing random. They don't like surprises. They want to see what's around the corner. Okay. Right. So randomly talking to strangers and all stuff doesn't make sense to an introvert. Right. Another thing what people don't know about introverts is that introverts are always asking two questions in the back of their head at all times.
And what are those questions?
Does this make sense? Or what's the point?
Yeah.
If it doesn't make sense, and if it doesn't have a point, the immediate reaction of an introvert is to avoid. And Corey, we have a name for that. It's called procrastination.
Ooh, say it for the people in the back.
Yeah, man. Listen, this is when it comes to the enemy of productivity, procrastination is right up there. Yeah. These micro delays. Whether you're starting your own podcast, whether you're starting your own business, whether you're writing a screenplay, whatever, procrastination has been the death nail of many dreams. Wow. Now, for introverts, what people don't understand, and also, why are we procrastinating? Because again, as far as the body and mind is concerned, anytime we perceive something as being dangerous, boring, or confusing, to protect the host, which is us.
Right.
It immediately gets you in fight or flight mode.
Fight or flight.
So in many cases, flight mode is what comes in, and that's where we start getting the avoid. Yeah. So when I'm coaching a lot of professionals who like saying, I don't understand why I'm not selling or not making time to go ahead and do so, what's happening is the tactic and strategy that they're using most often has been a one-size-fits-all approach, which has been fantastic at providing comfort for extroverted personality types, but provides absolute gaga crazy discomfort for introverts. And when that happens, we go back into the fight or flight mode. Yeah. And now what ends up happening, when I should be making calls, I'm not. When I should be posting on social media, I'm not. When I should be knocking on doors, I won't. Right. Why? And all of a sudden I keep saying tomorrow, yesterday, and before you know it, one day turns into 2 days, 3 days turns into a week, and before you know it, it's been a month and we've done nothing. And then we're asking ourselves, why am I like this? Yeah. And the reason why you're feeling that way is because you're selling in a way that's not authentic to who you are naturally. And that's what I do.
And you know, there is this thing called pattern life cycles. Mm-hmm. So if you don't like doing something and you continue not to do it when you know you should, it's a pattern. Yeah. Then the pattern becomes a habit.
Yeah, 100%.
Then the habit becomes a lifestyle. And then the lifestyle become a life cycle. Yeah. And with that life cycle, then like you just said, a lot of entrepreneurs, small business, or even people who know they are high achievers, they don't.
Yeah.
They just don't.
Yeah.
And I believe if they knew who they were,
right.
whether they're an introvert or
right.
extrovert,
right.
their demographic and their sphere of influence will be extremely different.
Well, as a matter of fact, and they definitely at least, and here's the most important thing. Because we're raising, very simply, when you start understanding who you are, you start becoming in alignment more with who you are. Then what does that do? That increases your comfort. What I've seen in almost 40 years of doing sales is this, and also when people are comfortable with their sales process, they show up most often to do that process.
Yeah.
When a person is uncomfortable with their sales process, they're watching Netflix instead.
Yeah.
Okay, this area of comfort is absolutely huge. So when we're connecting a person to understanding how to sell, present, lead, manage, and also as their authentic self, as an introvert or an extrovert, they're taking off like a rocket.
Right.
Because in many cases, what's happening, particularly, and I'll just speak for the sales industry, most of the sales tactics and strategies are all designed to be a one-size-fits-all approach, which is really more modeled after catering tactics and strategies towards extroverted personality types.
Okay.
And all stuff. And when you start now trying to get introverts to go ahead and buy into that, it's oil and water.
It don't mix.
It doesn't mix. And we have a lot of individuals getting burnt out unnecessarily because they're simply selling in a way that's not authentic to who they are. Once you now understand what's authentic to who you are, you get in alignment. I mean, matter of fact, think about that hose during the summer and all stuff. You guys are having a good time. All of a sudden the water stops. Well, somebody stepped on it or there was a kink in the hose. Someone now finds the kink, opens a kink. Here comes the throughput.
And it gushes out fast.
Yeah. That's what happens when we get connected with our sales style. And I'm noticing that with the organizations I get a chance to coach. It's not just in sales. And also introverts manage differently. Yeah. And also extroverts manage differently. And also, matter of fact, they lead differently. They inspire differently going on here. And having them even understand not only themselves, but also how they're perceived by others has also been a huge game changer in regards to that. Because I can think about so many situations where I was coming off as the quote unquote Mr. Energy extrovert.
Right.
And didn't realize that I was actually pissing off the introvert right in front of me.
Wow. And you need to know your audience.
Exactly.
You need to know your audience.
But because I didn't know who I was, and most of all, I didn't understand how my personality type was basically, in many cases, offending them. In fact, let me give you a case in point. Matter of fact, if an introvert is always going to be more likely to get down to business. Remember, does this make sense, or what's the point?
Right.
The extrovert, matter of fact, the extrovert salesperson pretty much has a default mentality that says, if you like me, you'll buy from me. So here comes the funny stories. Here, what did you do this weekend?
Right.
Hey, are those your kids in the picture?
Right.
Well, hold on a second. Now you're getting very personal.
Yeah.
And to an introvert, I don't know you.
Right.
Going on here, and immediately you as a person, you're thinking, I'm being gregarious, I'm being likable, right? Well, to the introvert you're talking to, you're actually being low-key offensive.
Yeah.
So now what ends up happening, whatever level of favor you were hoping to garner from that deal almost went away because of your misunderstanding of not only who you are, but also how your personality type on that may affect others. Right. So this is, guys, this isn't just simply in terms of, hey, change this and all going on here. This is a pretty scientific process that once you understand, you're able to go ahead and maximize. And because even if you're an introvert, it shows you how to go ahead and manage your extroverts and vice versa.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's key. You always want to know the power that you have within you.
100%.
And I see that with a lot of things that's going on in the world today. Mm-hmm. Okay, so just, you know what I'm saying? I'm going to spin it back.
Sure.
Just this past Monday, a few days ago, 6 women went up into outer space, right?
I saw that. That was pretty
And it was a whole bunch of backlash coming back to them, right? Mm-hmm. And to the average person or the average introvert, right? I guess I will call myself an introvert.
Sure, no problem.
I'm like, they did a good job.
Mm-hmm.
so what's next on the agenda? Because I don't have too much time to spend over here.
Exactly.
But I see a lot of people on social media, and maybe that's social media is the extrovert platform for all the I'm not going to say hate. I'm just saying they feel like their opinion needs to be expressed.
Yeah.
And
again, remember, introverts are always asking, what's the point?
Right.
Or does this make sense?
Exactly.
So if what they're hearing is a bunch of nonsense because it doesn't make sense and there's no point, chances are they're probably going to go ahead and shine it on. Let me give you another scenario where you see this quite often.
Yeah.
Okay. And I work with a lot of CEOs who are getting very frustrated with their staff. Some have even gone as far as, I'm going to fire these people because I don't think I have good people. And it turns out, no, you have good people. You just don't understand how to talk to their personality type. Wow. So let me give you a prime example. Okay, guys, we're getting together and I need to go ahead and get a brainstorm. We need to go ahead and get ideas for the next product line. And I want to go ahead and get everybody's opinion right now. And go. Let's go around the horn.
Yeah.
Now, anybody who's ever had this situation knows exactly what's going to go ahead and happen. All right. The same 2 or 3 people are always raising their hands.
Yes, they are.
Meantime, the vast majority of the office is remaining quiet.
Right.
Going on here. Now, chat. Why is that? Well, remember, introverts have a high desire to always know what they're talking about at all times.
Yeah.
If they do not know what they're talking about, they rather not talk at all.
Right.
So you're getting a lot of, I'll just repeat what the last person said, or boss, pass, come back to me, I'll get some thought later.
Yeah.
So what ends up happening where CEOs are thinking, oh my gosh, I don't have a creative soul, matter of fact, in this bunch, but they actually do, but you need to go ahead and do it in a way that's able to release that. So what recommendation do I make? Listen, if you have introverts in your office and you want to get some new ideas, give them 24 to 48 hours. Hey guys, we're going to be talking new ideas here. Come on Friday. Okay, today is Wednesday. I want you guys to go ahead and come up. I'm going to be going around the horn and getting ideas about our new products. Love to go ahead and get your thoughts. See you on Friday.
Yeah.
Now what ends up happening come Friday, you have almost 100% participation.
Yeah. So introverts are the proper planners.
Yeah.
The extroverts are the I'll wing it.
I'll wing it. So that's why they feel very comfortable talking as they're thinking.
Right.
Okay. And introverts get very annoyed. They're like saying, dude, you didn't flesh this thing out, or why are you even talking? But extroverts have no problem talking on the fly on that as well, because as far as they're concerned, that's part of their process. It's not a good or a bad thing. It's just basically understanding who you're working with here, going on here. So when we start talking about brainstorms, they're like saying, cool, we'll do this all day long because we're good with basically just kind of talking stream of consciousness or what have you, and also and doing that. Whereas introverts are like saying, no, you know, I really prefer getting a chance to give me a few moments, do the little bit of research, and I'll come back to you with some ideas, because I don't want to waste anybody's time. And that's another thing about introverts. They absolutely hate wasting time. My goodness. Man,
so that sounds like me.
Yeah.
I'm like, does it make sense?
Yeah.
Does it matter?
Yeah.
And how long we got to spend energy on this? Because it's like, look, I got kids. I got kids.
Exactly.
And I mean, even them, I give them so much energy into. I'm like, okay, there go my bucket of energy.
Exactly. So like I said, this is what we've been doing, and for the last 5 years, working, like I said, gosh, I couldn't believe it, over 1,500 clients.
That's amazing, man. That is something to celebrate.
Yeah, it is.
You know, because we worked in the same field in wireless technology.
Yeah.
And let's look at how many customers we made them, right? Mm-hmm. And we've just tapped a quarter of the customer base that you did for yourself.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yet you're so free.
Yeah.
And you're changing the lives. You're pretty much changing the trajectory of an individual.
Yeah.
You know, when that business owner learns who they are, then they learn what they'll tolerate. Yeah. And when they learn what they'll tolerate, they'll know what profession to go into.
It's huge.
Yeah.
It's huge. And thank you for that. But like I said, again, I really feel that this, as a coach, I really feel that this is almost my calling. Going on here, because, and especially now with the economy being what it is, Every single person right now, I don't care who you are, you just became a salesperson.
You did.
And you better start getting very comfortable with it.
Yeah.
Going on here, because the fact of the matter is everything that we thought that we knew has been disrupted on that. So remember that good government job?
Yeah. Oh no.
Everybody said if you get yourself a good government job, you're gonna be fine. And that used to be the case. 20, 30 years, you get your pension and you go and you can always rely on it. But that's been disrupted big time going on here. So now what's happening that people are saying, hey, listen, if I'm going to go ahead and have a viable future right now, and I don't care if I'm a PhD or what have you going on here, I have to go ahead and know how to sell, how to sell my ideas, how to sell myself, how to sell, matter of fact, my perceptions, my products. I have to go ahead and know how to do so. To go ahead and do so. Matter of fact, to go ahead and do that. But more importantly, this is really where I'm very, very joyful about being able to go ahead and is provide a segment of individuals who were so uncomfortable. In some cases, some people said they were disgusted with the idea of thinking that they had to sell because their image of what they saw all their lives was the wink and the gun. And all stuff, the sleazy salesperson.
Wolf of Wall
Street type. And they're saying, that's not me, but I got a great idea for a product or service, but I want to go ahead and let the whole world know, but I don't want to be that person. How can I basically be me? And get my ideas out to the world? So what we've been doing right now by helping to empower introverted perfectionists to sell in a way that's authentic to who they are and all stuff has been not only been an amazing game changer, but one of the joys of my life.
And that's amazing. So you're living in purpose and on purpose.
Oh, 100%.
You know what I'm saying? The goal of life is always for me, is to make sure you make someone else's life better.
Absolutely.
And then not only just your family, you're going to make your kids better. You're going to make your family around you. You want to make them better. But when you take a perfect stranger and you sow those seeds of encouragement and education, because you're not just providing them tools, you're educating them on a better them. You change their world, which, when I use the world term, I'm using systems. Save yourself time, energy, and money. That's the acronym.
Listen.
And when you save them that, then it's like they have a new look on life, a new lease on life, a new lease on living. And that is key.
It's huge.
Tell the people where they can find you. You have to.
Well, like I said,
they're going to be coming to you.
Well,
brother.
Like I said again, I love this. And for those who want to go ahead and find out more about me, go to Coach Desmond, DESMOND, CoachDesmond.com. They can go ahead and sign up for a complimentary one-on-one coaching session. It'll take about 45 minutes of just simply one-on-one time, and they're able to go ahead and understand more specifically about their situation, what have you. So CoachDesmond.com. They can see the testimonials, et cetera, et cetera. Yeah.
You're going to see me on there.
Oh, man. You are properly displayed. Absolutely.
Definitely, man. So, Desmond.
Yeah.
Thank you.
No, thank you, brother. Appreciate it.
You are a light into this world. And for those who you think you're extrovert, you're probably not. You're probably not. You are an introvert. You got a bucket of energy. Okay? When that bucket is run out, you gonna tap out.
Yeah, exactly. We'll give you a test. Like I said, remember, extroverts are amazing on that, but it's oftentimes so amazing to me when I give the test, individuals start realizing, hold on a second, I think I'm an introvert. And then of course, not to geek out here, but like 3 versions of that. There's introvert, there's ambivert, and then there's extrovert. And all stuff.
I didn't know they're ambivert. Well, before we give us a taste of what an ambivert is.
Well, like I said, the ambivert basically is able to play in both sandboxes. So for example, when I test, I oftentimes test as an ambivert. And matter of fact, so my natural default setting is that of an introvert. But because of the fact that I believe that I've been basically masquerading as an extrovert for over 30 years going on here in all sub, I just feel I can feel comfortable being bilingual in that regard. But my natural default setting is that of an introvert. Going on here. So no one's any just all pure introvert or extrovert. Everybody's a little mix of one thing or another. They just happen to over index on one as opposed to another. So with this in mind, so this is really important when we get a chance to meet folks when they get their complimentary coaching session. We actually get a chance to test them on that, and they're able to go ahead and see if they're an introvert or an extrovert. If you're an extrovert, you're amazing going on here as well, and also, but you need to go ahead and know in terms of your limitations. I can already know with extroverts where they're going to go ahead and burn out and how to avoid that. That's a big issue with extroverts and all stuff because they're constantly going on to the next shiny thing. What people don't know about extroverts is that while they have a high tolerance to go ahead and do the cold calling, talking to strangers, give the toast randomly off the dome, et cetera, those individuals and all stuff find themselves getting easily distracted because if they do not get the quote unquote positive reinforcement from their sales efforts, they get discouraged and they're on to the next shiny thing.
On to the next shiny thing.
Okay.
And we're going to tie it up with that. So it's your main man with the game plan, Corey Giovanni, and I'm here with business growth coach, Desmond Blackburn.
Thank you, brother.
Make sure you guys hit that link, check in the comments below, and see you soon.